Hey Impactors, before we start, I want to encourage you to follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you're listening. If you want to support the mission of this podcast so that we can continue telling the stories of the incredible entrepreneurs and impactors within communities of color, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/impactpod. That's patreon.com/MPAKTPOD. If you can't support monetarily, all I ask is that you share this episode with a friend or family member or someone else who's looking to make an impact in the world of business, entrepreneurship, or in your community. Thank you so much for your support thus far. Without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the MPAKT Podcast. I am your host, LBJ, and today I'm super excited to introduce you to Jay Veal. Jay Veal is the co-founder and CEO of It's Not Complicated Education. He's a Forbes Black member, a Black Excellence Society member, founder of Jay Veal Brand LLC, a former contributing writer for Black Enterprise Magazine. He's on the board of directors for Big Thought, and he's executive director of Black Tutors of Social Media. Inc. Education, his company, has been featured on Ebony Magazine podcasts, Roland Martin Unfiltered, South by Southwest, Forbes, TEDx, Business Insider, Black Enterprise Magazine, Entrepreneur Magazine, and so much more. In fact, they were the only Black tutoring company to make the Forbes list. Jay, I am super excited and super grateful to have you on the show today. I can't wait for people to hear your story and your entrepreneurship journey. And talking to you before the episode, you know, your passion is the word that comes to mind is spirit-led, and I'm super excited to dive into that. How are you doing today?
Man, glad to be here. Appreciate you inviting me on the podcast and on the show. Super excited to be here today. Feeling good over here in Atlanta for a conference, actually for Inc. Magazine. So stopped over here and got to head out to Houston on the weekend for graduations and things like that, man. But glad to be here, make things happen and kind of share the story.
Awesome. I love Atlanta. I mentioned to you earlier, I've only been to Atlanta one time, but can't wait to go back. So people understand, what It's Not Complicated Education is. Love to hear that in your words. What is It's Not Complicated Education?
Yeah, so It's Not Complicated Education, otherwise known as Inc., is a tutoring or education brand where we help students from kindergarten to the doctorate level in STEM subjects, test preps, English reading, writing, and foreign languages. We also do career development, professional development, training. We do workshops, mentoring services. I mean, the whole nine pretty much, right? We just launched a new website last week and kind of some new branding there. So I've split the company up into two pieces, a education and tutoring side, and then a professional development and career services side. And so we can do more things, and we're not just necessarily a tutoring organization at this point. We're a whole full scale education brand. And so when you come to It's Not Complicated, kind of funny story behind that. I didn't actually come up with the name of the organization. My mom actually came up with the name of the company years ago. And she was like, man, why don't you? I said, when I was trying to think of the name for the organization, I said, I don't know what to name it. She's like, well, why don't you name it It's Not Complicated, because nothing was hard for you in school. And I was like, that sounds kind of great. And so I was like, yo, now the name of the company is like a catchphrase for many people. Everybody the word ink. They're like,
I love it too. Yes.
And so folks are like, how did you come up with that name? It's very, very it rolls off the tongue really well. And ink is something that's used everywhere, right? In a sense, 100%. Right? 100%. Incorporated or Ink Magazine. Like ink is a well-known acronym, I guess you could say.
For sure.
So for us, It's Not Complicated is really a thing of when you come into our education brand as a client and or as a partner, it doesn't have to be hard, right? Dealing with us should be simple. Sure. The things that we create, the educational experiences that we create for the students that come on board is not hard. It's not complicated, and we make things easy for them. And we explain things in a way that they can digest simply, and they're able to create great experiences and get good grades in the classes that we assist them with. So that's kind of like the long and short of the name of the organization and kind of what we go through.
Yeah,
over 11,000 students now at this point. Get A's and B's in about 55 different subjects across the board. Like I said, we're a 16 time company now, specifically for what we've done with the Black and Brown community, but we do obviously take everybody in at large, and we have the same impact. No matter who comes up through our doors, whether you're white, black, brown, red, it doesn't matter, what color you are, but what does matter is the outcomes that you want to desire to have in your education. So that's kind of where we're at.
That's incredible. We're gonna get into that in a second. You mentioned your mom. I'd love to hear a bit about your background. Where does the story of Jay Veal start?
Yeah, so originally from Northeast to LA, in California. So SoCal till I die. Not from Dallas, you know what I mean? I've been in Dallas for a hot minute, but I ain't never gonna claim Texas. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm from. Both my parents retired Air Force, 21 years.
Incredible.
My mom actually started out at Age, which is basically a mechanic on airplanes. So my mom was actually a mechanic on airplanes when she first started out. So she knows engines and all that. So what a woman typically would not be working in. She worked in that, right? She did that.
That's
she was actually the first one to teach me how to change a tire. So crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
So, she did that. Then she was in JAG in law. And then she was in IT and tech. And then my dad
that's incredible.
Used to work in ammunitions and bombs and stuff like that. So he had this top secret clearance. And my mom had a secret clearance.
Yeah.
When I went to the Naval Academy, I had a secret clearance. So all these things happened. Then my dad went off into IT as well. So I grew up in tech.
Right.
So for me, the pathway was like, where am I going to go after I graduate and go into the corporate world, things like that? What am I going to be doing? Initially, I want to be a biomedical engineer. Then I went from biomedical engineering to I want to do computer engineering. Then I went from computer engineering to want to do something in information systems. So I moved around a couple of times in terms of what I wanted to do in life, right?
Yeah.
But it never crossed my mind to be in education. It never crossed my mind to start my own company, ever, period. That was not in the cards for me, right? So for me to be here now and be able to be in that space and do well in that space, specifically as a Black male educator, that also is not prevalent. You're in Chicago. You definitely heard. I think it actually started in Chicago. The big 2% problem for Black male educators. There's not enough in the classrooms to represent the students that we have sitting in the seats, and I think that it's a huge problem to tackle when we want our kids to do well, but they don't see anybody that looks like them, walks like them, and talks like them to show them the way as representation. And that's a problem. So I think that now me having that part of my story come into play, I think is important for, students to hear, parents to hear, and the youth and the public to really know, wow, now there's somebody out there that is advocating for the BIPOC community that is doing well in that space, right? And that it exemplifies the pathway of the how and the why, right? Not just the what. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
For sure.
And we'll get into the nonprofit stuff too later on. I started that, but these are all the things that kind of make up Jay Veal. Jay Veal is a cat that started young. Graduated high school at 16, started as a freshman at 12.
Okay,
years old.
Tell us about that, because that's a story of its own.
Yeah, man. So my mom had me. My mom always makes a joke and says that she does not know how I kind of got really, really good at math and became a mathematician, but she used to do calculus problems and talk out loud when I was in her stomach and stuff like that. So maybe I learned some things through osmosis. But at the same point in time, being able to have that experience in different schools, being able to go to school in California, being able to go to school in Asia and Japan, being able to go to school in Arizona and magnet school programs my whole life. All those things I think contributed to the point of me having the exposure to STEM early.
Yeah.
Right? And being able to compete with individuals who are not me or not us, that don't look like us. I get to learn from them as well as they get to learn from me, and we feed off each other. And now I have the education that they have, or what, as they say, people you're going to compete with in corporate, right, are the individuals that you see when you're in high school and elementary school, middle school. Those will be the same people that you got to run up against when you get out there. And
Yep.
so for me, I had that experience, right? I'm also bilingual in Spanish. Like, so I mean, I used to know Japanese too, but back then when I was living in Japan,
Yeah.
I don't know it anymore. I know the numbers and stuff like that. But when you have that experience, it matriculates into how you do things out there in the real
Of course.
world, and you're able to
Yeah.
disseminate that out to other people and your peers. But I mean, for me, like I said, Young Cat came into existence, into school really early, graduated early, bilingual, well-traveled. I love fast cars, luxury cars. I love traveling. Get myself a little trouble every now and then. You know what I mean? But outside of that, I love traveling. I love mathematics with a passion. I always tell people, if math was a woman, it'd be
Yeah.
my girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? So it is one of those things, man. That's me. Just a
That's
real relaxed guy, man. Real chill.
that's awesome. I'm also a lover of math. Math was my passion growing up, and when I was going through school as well. It I say found some success because of that as well. But one question, as I'm thinking, did you ever do anything like entrepreneurial related as a kid? And I'm wondering because you had this tech exposure early. You also super good with math. It seems like entrepreneurship and tech entrepreneurship, might be a thought at some point. Did you do anything entrepreneurial as a kid? Like was there any indicator that at this point in your life you'd be an entrepreneur?
I mean, like, you know what, man, I'm trying to think back. Like, I think there was a time where how you're in school as a kid, and like you get candy and you be trying to sell the candy to your friends. Like,
That's my story.
I want to say, like, I did a little bit of that, but not much, right? So
Yeah.
it was more so. There was a time where I tried to do like a lemonade stand thing when I was a kid, try to test that out, just because I wanted to see what lemonade stands look like. Like, what is this? How does this make money? How do I do this? Right.
Right.
There was times where I saw my parents do things. They used to have a publishing company called Edit Express, and I got a chance to learn some things from how they did things a little bit in business. And my mom stated that my grandpa was also an entrepreneur, like in the family.
Wow.
So apparently it's somewhere in the bloodline.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, right? I didn't know that till later on in my life. And my experience with it as a little kid was not, I would say, advanced enough for me to be like, I definitely want to be an entrepreneur for sure. Like, I definitely want to do this. I definitely want to do that. I definitely want to, run $1 million brand one day, or a multi-million-dollar brand, or $1 billion brand, or whatever. Like, none of that came into my head as this is going to be my life. Right. So the short answer to that is kinda. The long answer to that is not really. But I had a little bit of inkling about it when I was younger. I never saw it in my pathway. It's something that I was gonna definitely want to do when I got older.
Sure. Okay, yeah, for sure. Okay, so after high school, tell me what's that story? What's that transition from I would say your early career into I'll say right before It's Not Complicated, because there's a question on that.
So after I graduated college, I got my bachelor's degree. I actually initially was going to do computer engineering. Then there was this one class I couldn't pass.
What college did you go to?
I went to the Naval Academy in Annapolis,
Okay,
and then I went to the University of Texas in Arlington, Texas. And so there was this class I could not pass, man, called Intermediate Programming. It was CSE 1320, and I was good at database programming and things like that in Java, but I could not. The object-oriented programming piece of C++, I just couldn't do it. It was not registering to me. You know what I'm saying? I spent hella nights just compiling programs and doing this and syntax errors and stuff like that, but couldn't really full scale get it, right? So I moved my major. I switched my major to information systems, which is it's still in the tech space, but at that point, in my engineering major, I'd taken so many math classes, I automatically had a minor in mathematics. So
that's
information systems major, minor in mathematics, and then when my grad school, I got my MED, my master's in education and curriculum instruction mathematics as well. So at the end of the day, when I got done with school, I actually, at that time, I was working at Microsoft as part of their, they used to call the program MPAKT. and it was Microsoft
Yeah.
me at college hires. And so, and when I was in the middle of my master's degree program, I got hired on with Microsoft as their college hire program, and did my thing there as a technical account manager.
Yeah.
And then after I got done being a TAM, you know, during my course and career, I was working in different fields within the tech space, but in the telecommunications space and things like that. But even before I got to education, as funny as it seems, I've done a lot of stuff. I've worked in education, I've worked in tech, IT, I've worked in engineering, I've worked in finance, banking, retail, sales, telecom. Like, I've literally done so much. Military, like, I've done so much that I can speak about things and have intelligent conversation amongst multiple different disciplines without having to feel like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Of course.
And so being that said, it's allowed me to have different conversations with people in different circles and not feel as an outsider, right? I can run with the wolves in any conversation I want to, because I've done so many things. I used to work for the credit agency too, work for Experience. So I'm also a finance and credit that's a whole nother business that I have. But outside of that, being that said, moving into education in 2008 was a transition point that I didn't know was coming. Like you said before, as a spiritual individual, I ran my whole life doing things, and eventually I just heard this word from God. He was like, "Hey, you need to be in education," and he came out of nowhere. It was like a silent time, and this is what he said to Jay Veal. And I told my manager at the time, I was like, "Hey, fam, let me holler at you real quick." And he was like, "What it is?" And he was like, I said, "Listen, I got this word from God. It told me that I got to be in education. I don't know about you. I don't know how spiritual you are. And I know you had just hired me 3 months ago. I know you mad about that." Because he was. And he was like, I just hired you to take my place. And I was just like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I have to follow what God told me to do. I'm sorry, bro.
That's incredible.
So I did it. And then when I left, I enrolled into an alternative certification program for Dallas ISD. And I got assigned to a school. Once I got done, I got assigned to a school, the alma mater where I graduated from, which was pretty good. So check this out. First year of teaching, I get assigned to a top national high school. At the time, like I said, they were number 3 in the nation. And I get tasked to teach this very unique class called Fast Track Mathematics. And so I'm like, huh? You know what I mean? How am I gonna do this? And so the class, basically, the way that it's structured is teaching freshmen 3 years of pre-AP math in 1 year. And so I would teach them the whole year of pre-AP geometry in a regular calendar academic year from August to May, right? At the same time, I teach those same students the whole year of Algebra 2 in 1 semester from August to January. Then they take a break for winter break and fall, right? And then come back from break in the spring and January, right? And then I teach them the whole year of pre-calculus from January to May in 1 semester. So they learn 3 full credits in 1 year. Then they take, as sophomores in high school, AP calculus, which you don't normally do. You take AP calculus normally as a senior. And so did that first year teaching. All my kids got 100% perfect scores first year out the gate. Crazy, right?
That's unheard of.
Right? Crazy, right? So I then did my next 3.5 years in the classroom. I taught everything under the sun, from Algebra 1 to AP Calculus at regular pre-AP and AP levels. Was very successful with it, and then became an instructional coach. So I did my 4.5 years in the classroom in the game, and then I was in leadership the rest of my time, right? So went to a school. They were at 62% failing on the STAR exam, which is the state test here. And keep saying here because I'm always used to being in Texas. In Texas, they have a state exam called STAR. And so they were at 62% failing on the test. I came in as an instructional coach, led a team of 13 math educators, and was able to bring them up to 92% in a year. So did that. Then I moved on to DeSoto District. Oh, go ahead. My
quick question. What's your thought process in that moment? Because like, it was clear that, God was telling you, your purpose is over in education, and then like immediately you're seeing the fruits. Like
Success,
what's
right?
your thought process in that moment?
I'm like, I mean, I appreciate you letting me know where I'm supposed to be in my pathway, but I didn't know there was supposed to be success this fast. Like, I didn't know
Yeah,
that I was going to immediately be good at what I did. Like,
yeah,
normally, and it's not normal in education. You don't normally just do 4 years and
right,
become leadership and do well like that. You just
right,
it don't happen like that.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. You don't normally become the top Black male math educator in the region. You don't just become the top Black male tutor for mathematics in this region
yeah,
that fast. And so my mindset was, wow, I don't know what it is and what gift I have been blessed with that I didn't know was going to come out until now.
mhm,
Because God always takes your gifts and makes them shine in ways you didn't think were possible.
yeah,
And I just went with it. So I said,
yeah,
okay, cool, God, you want me to be this way? All right, I'm gonna keep going. I mastered my craft of teaching in the classroom and education, and discovered that there was a way to take the tutoring mindset, pair it with classroom instruction, with mostly a Black and brown
yeah,
community of students who were in the underserved communities within Dallas ISD, Cedar Hill District, DeSoto District, Duncanville ISD, charter school systems and stuff like that in DFW. And I was able to create a way of teaching that my students related to.
wow,
I didn't have problems that much in the classroom with my kids.
yeah,
Like, I didn't have a whole lot of discipline issues and classroom management issues and things like that. There were times
yeah,
I had to get with my kids though, and be like, "Nah, fam, you're not finna do is think you're gonna try and fight me in this class. That's what you're not gonna do,
right,
right? But what you are gonna do is listen to what I'm saying and get this
mhm,
math though.
yeah,
I'm gonna become your big brother, whether you like it or not.
yeah,
You might hate math, you might hate algebra 1. Okay, cool, I get it. No worries. You might
yeah,
hate geometry, AP calculus, whatever. It's all good. You got to get through this math though, and I'm gonna make you do it. And
yeah,
you're gonna be good at it. We gonna
yeah,
go through it. If you're gonna struggle, you're gonna hit this tutoring, you're gonna go home and you're gonna do this homework, and I'm gonna let you know what it is if you didn't do it.
yeah,
Because I'm not happy about non-success.
mhm,
You don't get a pass because, oh, I got stuff going on at home and all that. We all got stuff going on, and I get it. You know what I'm saying? There's some
yeah,
things that happen in home that dictate your outcome in the classroom and in the world. Some
yeah,
kids have issues and parents arguing. Some people, unfortunately, may be molested or abused or whatever it may be. We can't control those things, but what we can do is make sure that you get what you need in this classroom. And I'm here to support you 100%. You know what I'm saying? I'm 10 fingers in, I'm 10 toes down. As long as you're in these 4 walls of this classroom, you're gonna get exactly what you need from me. And you can
absolutely,
contact me, you can text me, you can call me, you can say, "Hey, Mr. J, I don't understand this problem. Can you help me out?" You don't gotta be ashamed to be like, I don't know what's going on. Okay, well, that's fine. Just tell me so I can fix it.
yeah,
And that's the kind of approach that I've gone with in my educational journey, not only for education in the classroom, but moving on to starting a company centered around a holistic 360-degree approach of how
yeah.
we tutor and educate people.
That's incredible. That I you're as you talk, like your passion is like so evident and like so clear. Like, so all right, so I think you're about to mention when you moved to the DeSoto district.
Mhm.
And so I'd love to hear kind of, from that point you're in school leadership. How does it's not complicated education or ink education come about? Like,
Yeah.
what's that transition?
Yeah, so good question. So middle of 2015 is when I started Ink Education. Now
Yeah.
Ink Tutoring back then.
Okay. Okay.
Now we're Ink Education. And so I noticed while I was in the classroom there, in the different districts, and then when I went to DeSoto, I was in leadership, that there was a gap between what students of color were not getting inside the classroom for support and what they weren't getting outside the classroom for support.
Hmm.
And what I saw was there was this generational gap of what I saw between parents and the kids, and also what the students were getting from the educators that are in different classrooms, right? There's a generational gap, right? Generation X was not getting to generation,
Right.
Y at the time. Now we got Generation Z. So now generation,
You
X
said
is
it's
not getting to
2015?
Generation Z. 2015, yeah.
2 years
So
after I graduated, a year after I graduated from high school, so I understand.
yeah, right. So in the middle of that, right, it's like you're not getting to the kids in the classroom seats the right
Yeah.
way, right? And they're not benefiting from the teaching that you're giving them. So they don't
Yeah.
get the support in tutoring after school correctly for an hour and 45 minutes. They're not getting anything in that timeline or before school. So I sat with that for a while and I was like, what is it that I can create that makes sense, that I can make a business model out of that can benefit students? And what it was an approach that's built on relationship building. I did a whole TEDx talk about relationship building with Black and brown kids and how that translates to academic success and tutoring success within the classroom.
Yeah.
I did that talk when I was in New York. And
I'll
so
link it below for people to see it as well.
so here's the thing. You have to build relationships with students in ways that they can identify with you as somebody that they can see themselves be. That's the first thing. You got to build deep relationships with parents and students first and become part of the family structure. You don't treat them as a number, right? They're not a code. They're not a number. They're not just something you see on the street, but they're an extension. You're an extension of their family at this point when you're going into tutor them. Then I said, okay, cool. Once the relationship is done, what's next? Okay, well, including different stakeholders in their learning process, parents, teachers, counselors, students, coaches, if they're in sports, like everybody's on one page academically and pedagogically.
Yeah.
Then we mentor the students to become big brothers and sisters. And then after the tutoring is complete and mentoring is complete, we then provide back-end support. So what does that look like? Oh, hey, Jay, I need help on these 10 problems. I know we just tutored on Tuesday, but I know I got a test on Friday. On Thursday, let's go ahead and run up these 10 problems, right? Just like in the movie Creed 3, and the guy just run it, right? Go, right? Let's go ahead and attack those problems and get it done. So now we have not a tutoring engagement, but we have an ecosystem.
Right.
And so being that said, we create these ecosystems around these students that are 360 degree, they're holistic.
Yeah.
They have no other option but to succeed. The only way that you fail within our dynamic of organization is if you just don't do it. You know what I'm saying? You just don't, you're just not in products, right? So now we've done this now, going on 6 years. We've helped out over 11,000 students. We have a 95% success rate of our students getting A's and B's and 55% across the board based on this approach.
Yeah.
And now we're looking to try and scale it with ed tech and things of that nature and try and get platform built so we can do more things with this dynamic of students. And also it's not going to, AI and machine learning is not going to replace this. It ain't.
Right.
I don't care how much tech you got. You're not going to replace the relationship. Only AI can do certain things to be a tool, but the emotional intelligence, it doesn't have at the acuity level that humans do.
Yeah.
And so we can include what we're doing in education and tutoring and put that into AI, but the spitting out of recommending that student is going to still need face-to-face tutoring or online tutoring that's like this too is not going to be replaced because AI can't go in and be like, hey man, like what happened last night? Or what happened in your history, in your upbringing to make you be like this, to where you can't learn like that, right? AI can only spit in what you put out. So at the end of the day, and it can be intuitive, degenerative, and generative, but at the same time, we're never going to get to a point where tutoring is going to be fully replaced by anything that's artificial. And so with that being said, we built this phenomenal ecosystem around students. It's been successful this whole time. We built a whole brand off of it. And man, it's been a fun time.
That's awesome. A couple things. So I guess my first question out of that, you mentioned really kind of building that ecosystem, like community around the students. And I guess my question out of that is, how did you develop that model and then know that that model was going to be successful? Because like it feels like, in like fitness, there's like you hear like the bulletproof diet or the bulletproof, like it feels bulletproof, like it's like fail proof. But also like, so that's my question, I guess, how'd you develop the model? But I guess my comment on that is, even as you were talking, I kind of look back on my own education journey, and the teachers that I think left the biggest impact on me were the Black men teachers that I had, who earlier when you were talking, you said you were your teacher's big brother. Like that's what it was. Those teachers. I think of my favorite professor from college. Shout out to Dr. Hill. I'll send this to him. But but like he wasn't just a professor, he became a big brother, and I still have a relationship with him today. And again, like that's like that lasting impact that education have on student. In short, how did you transition from tech to education? Like how did you just gotta go and hit the ground running and know that it was gonna work like this?
Man, good question. Like, one thing you got to know about minority students, period, right, is some of them are tangible. Like Hispanic students are normally more tangible. They need to work with it and learn it, right? Like I got to use my hands to build this, and I can go out there and implement solutions, right? African American students, not all are like that.
Yeah,
but we're more relational. If you think about,
absolutely.
I'm not from the South, I'm saying, I'm from the West Coast, but
I'm from Missouri. St. Louis, Missouri. I kind of feel a little Southern,
right? So, so if you think about it, even going back 400 years ago, right, in the slavery days and things like that, what had to be done for the African American community to succeed and go places? They had to build relationships with people. Whether it was relationship with slaves, whether it was relationships with, other colleagues, whether it was relationships with other people going through the same things that they're going through. They relied on a lot of the whole, all those hymns you hear about and those songs they sung to each other and things like that. That was their outlet. So when you're looking at where does the success come from in this dynamic of students, it's build relationships with them. Get to know them so they can then in turn get to know you, but they can see themselves in you as somewhere that they can be moving forward. I got a girl right now that she's about to graduate from Prairie View A&M University, by Houston. I've been tutoring her since 8th grade.
Wow.
And she about to walk the stage. Like,
that's incredible.
I thought about that a while back. When you do things like that with students, you can bring tears to your eyes. It's like, man, I've been with you for a long time. And now you're about to go pre-vet. You're about to go, I just helped out another individual that now I helped her out with math and science for her grad school to take the GRE exam. Guess what she's doing now? She's now a doctor of nurse anesthesia.
Wow.
She's posting on Facebook about every week. I'm working on this patient doing anesthesia. I'm working on this and doing this. I'm doing that. And then she got into the top anesthesia program for nurses based on me helping her and tutoring. Like, we out here creating people that save lives.
Yeah, literally.
And we can't screw this up because if they make a wrong calculation on millimeters for anesthesia, they die. Or they don't get up from surgery. Or they don't go to sleep from surgery, right? So the point is, we're out here creating and solving problems and making people do things that they never thought that they could do and having fun with it. And it's like this dream, like people out here, they might be in tech and corporate and do these things, but you're not out here with a cape on your back and having these people that are now out here saving people's lives. Like, I feel like everybody that's in our company is a modern day superhero. Like, we put our cape on, we tutor them, and they graduate and walk the stage.
Yeah.
We tutor them, build relationships. Now they've not given up. They weren't going to go to STEM majors before, but because they saw a Black and brown person or a tutor who was able to help them, now they're like, you know what? I'm not going to give up. I used to hate math, but
Wow.
because I saw, my tutor did X, Y, and Z, and I know that they're in this career path, then I that's cool. I can do it now. And we got people on the team that's educators, instructional coaches, IT consultants, engineers, med school students, physicians, doctors, investment bankers, like clinical research people, and they're mostly millennial. Most of the people on our team are millennials.
Wow.
And they're young. Like, people that do what we're doing are normally like twice our age.
Yeah.
But the people that we tutor can see themselves from a young lens and be like, I can do this. So these are the things that we're creating. And this is how I went from, going from a different industry to education, being successful with it, creating, you're saying, how do I know the model works? Well, I think I knew it was going to work because we are based on relationships, but I just didn't know it was going to be that successful, and it was actually going to work to the capacity that it worked at. I just threw a long shot in the air and said, "Yo, bet. Let me start this model. See if it's going to happen." It just got taken really well. And as I kind of built it along, I just said, okay, relationship building fused with content fused with mentoring.
Yep.
Mentoring fused with support, afterwards, creates academic success at an all-time high. Then they matriculate that success on their own with a team behind them. They can rely on in partnership with their parents, to now they become positive contributors to society and become stakeholders that can do great things. To me, that sounds like a proper solution and a great equation for something that's going to work consistently. And that's how that went.
That's amazing. I have so much I want to ask you, but I know we're coming up on time, so I'm gonna make a slight transition. So what does, before we get into Black tutors or social media, for the rest of this year and kind of moving forward, you mentioned that you all are preparing to drop an ed tech product related to ink education. What does that look like? And then I guess, related to that, what is the vision over the next few years for ink education?
So we want to build something that is not only able to take in what we're doing right now in the education and tutoring space that we already have with the relationship building, and then the support, the tutoring online and or in person. We want to take it a step further and push this into learning profiles, databases. How do I know that this person needs to learn this way? Are they kinesthetic? Are they auditory? Are they, do they need to visually see everything? Like all these different things, whiteboarding, like gamification and competing against others and peers, right? Like all this stuff I want to put into one platform, not 2, 3, 4, or 5. One platform, including the AI stuff, right? That's gonna be able to relate to the populations that we serve, and be able to recommend all the solutions that they need, how they need to get that content, where does it come from. Videos may pop up, of the content that they need.
That's incredible.
Hey, you need tutoring from somebody that is Black and brown, or you need tutoring from somebody that's not Black and brown, or you might need tutoring that is in person, face-to-face at their location on site, or you might need tutoring that is okay to be virtual, or you might need a hybrid model. The platform is going to tell us all of that.
That's awesome.
And we're also going to be able to do what we do from a physical standpoint and a relationship building lens that AI can't replace, but we want all that in one. We want all that to do what we need to make things happen for the students. And I would say 5 years from now, we want to take over. Like, we want to take over the Sylvans, the Kumans of the world, the tutoring centers, and we want to license out our model, the way that we do things, right? Oh, dang, you're not school. You're not successful in how you're doing tutoring. Well, guess what? Maybe you can implement the Inc. way. And this is how we make it done. Or we go to private tutors and we say, you know what? You're just now starting out with your tutoring brand. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you can implement tutoring the Inc. way. And we just license that out. Like, so there's a lot of different pathways and things that I want to kind of do moving forward in the next 5 years. I think it looks hopeful for us. We want to hopefully become a multi-million-dollar brand one day. And we want to hopefully become the education company of choice. You want to get your education done, whether it be tutoring, training, workforce type things, test preparation, corporate items, professional development, speaking engagement, like all those kind of things, resume reviews and writing, financial literacy programs. We want to be the education company where you go to and be like, yo, listen, Inc. has it all. We're just going to go ahead and knock that out and make it happen, because they've already been successful with doing it. And nobody else is really attacking our niche market in a way that we're doing it right now. So I don't think that we're necessarily going to be stopped, but I do believe that we're a force to be reckoned with in the next 5 years. And we're going to keep evolving and finding more ways to make what we do that works already work even better. You know what I mean? So
that's incredible. As I listen, like, I mean, y'all found success in everything like you've done up until this point. Like going back to, like, there's a biblical phrase in my head, is like when God says, like, I've anointed the work of your hands. Like, that's like what's like, it's clear when he called you to this, he meant what he said. So that's incredible. Okay, so I'd love to hear about Black Tutors on social media.
Okay, yeah. So
what you're doing there,
So Black Tutors on social media was something that I kind of developed when I was in the pandemic. When I moved to Atlanta, I was going back and forth between Dallas and Atlanta, kind of setting up shop with Inc. Education out here. And when I was out here, I noticed during the pandemic I couldn't do as much as I wanted to, because people couldn't go outside. Like, people, there was things I couldn't go to the schools directly all this. I couldn't go to like the district office. I couldn't do a lot. And so oftentimes people would say, you know what, we do want to do things for education, but we can only do it with a nonprofit. And I'm just like, fam, I don't have a nonprofit right now. I have a for-profit entity. I need to make money doing something. You know what I'm saying? So it's not going to work for me. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I was like, dang, I need to figure out what I can develop. I always wanted to have a nonprofit. So wheels got to turning and things like that. And I was like, this would be the perfect time to start something and develop something. So came up with Black Tutors on social media. I initially wanted to kind of band together any Black tutors across the country who were doing something in education and tutoring, and nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
Everybody used to always be like, man, y'all the only Black tutoring organization I know of. You the only Black tutors I know. Like, you the only Black. I got tired of hearing you the only, and I was like, where the hell is everybody?
Yeah.
So Black Tutors on social media was evolved in a mindset of bringing people together in a community that are tutors who are minority, Black and brown, who could help out students across the country. And then that turned into a nonprofit situation, meaning on the front end, Black Tutors on social media is a platform for Black-owned tutoring brands to serve students, right, throughout the country at large through a filter reactive system on the front end. And on the back end is a 6-program nonprofit to in-house tutoring services, financial literacy programming, entrepreneurship programming, college tours, and other things, right? Mentoring programming and things like that. And so it's a newer nonprofit. So I don't claim to know everything about the NPO space. I've been on boards of nonprofits, but now that I have my own, I have a board, and we're trying to do things to get things off the ground and kind of running with the organization, due to the fact that for the past year and a half, I had been dealing with, a custody battle. You know what I mean? So I had to set things off a little bit and put things on the pathway, to make things happen with my daughter. But outside of that, I had to reshift my focus and pivot for a little bit. And so now that I'm getting back in the game, now we need to continue to do more things. We had got some funding earlier from another corporate entity in the IT space who was able to help us get funds so kids can get tutoring for free. Right. And we're still looking for those kind of things. Right. So those that are watching that have ways to fund or donate funds or, our donors, those are the things that we need in the Black and brown community right now, where if they can't afford tutoring services that can't go the traditional route to Inc. education, the for-profit side, they can come to the nonprofit side and get that tutoring for free from a high-level tutor, right?
That's
incredible. And I wanted to make sure that those companies that came on board for Black tutors of social media were just not no regular old average company.
Yep.
One, you got to have a legit business. It's got to be legit. It's got to be real. You know what I'm saying? LLC, something. Like, it's got to be real. It's got to be vetted. You know what I'm saying? Got to be legal, right? And you got to have your skin in the game, right? If you're going to come on board as a Black tutor of social media, you got to have a real legit business. You got to have skin in the game. You got to have passion for students. You got to be a top performing organization. You can't just be no average organization. You got to be having some top results. Like, you can't just jump in there and be like, I'm gonna be part of the crew. Nah,
that's awesome.
It needs to be an ecosystem of top tier organizations who are willing to help students at large do what they need to do, and we can refer as a network. You know what I mean, all the way around. And so that's kind of where Black Tutors of social media began. Kind of where we're trying to go now is to continue to build the network even stronger and have a cohort of individuals across the country, across the globe, who can rally together and solve educational problems, right?
Wow.
And be able to take on the world at large. And we're going to put all the tutoring people on our back and bring it to the stage, to the front of the stage, and be like, you have the support. You can't now complain and be like, I didn't know that there was another tutoring company in Chicago or Florida or Canada or wherever. They're here. They're right there. Just go look them up and start using them. You know what I'm saying? So we wanted to make it easy to have that done. And then now, we're just trying to build out we want to build out the programming and get the funding so we can help out the other side of the nonprofit, because it's 2-tier. And move in the next couple of years, man. We just want to, again, be one of the premier nonprofit organizations who is making a way for the BIPOC community on being a pathway of service to make sure that the students get what they need.
This is incredible. My final question before I let you go, I have thoughts on it, but what's the impact that you're looking to leave? Because this is the MPAKT podcast. These are the exact stories that I wanted to tell when I launched this podcast.
Right.
I wanted to share with the world. So I'm extremely grateful for you being on the show today. But what's the impact that you're looking to leave?
So the impact and the legacy that I'm looking to leave with really both organizations, but even primarily with Inc. Education, is that there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to learn a content. There's only one way, though, to be successful when it comes to building the community around the student to lead them to that success. And it's only with perseverance of wanting to get that done that can happen, right? So for me, the impact that I really want to leave is that my mom always said everybody was born with the same amount of brain cells, unless you have some sort of condition or something like that. But everybody was born the same amount of brain cells. It's up to us to figure out how we're going to use them. And I think that with us, we don't want anybody to have an excuse as to why they couldn't be successful in school. Oh, I didn't have a great tutor. Oh, I didn't have the resources. Oh, I didn't have somebody that looked like me. Oh, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. Okay, well, now you got everything. So
Yeah.
there's no reason why you can't use us. There's no reason why you can't have a tutor that looks like you, walks like you, talks like you. There's no reason why you can't go out there and really be successful, because you have everything you need. We can't continue to use the whole thing about, oh, well, back in the day, back in the slavery day, we did this. Okay, cool. We get the whole 40 acre and a mule story. We understand all that. And I'm not taking away from that. But what I am saying is we have to move from here and go forward. What are we going to do now?
Yeah.
And so now that we have access, we have tools, we have to read. We have to read, because we don't read all the time.
Yeah.
We have to read and be able to make those things happen. I want to leave a legacy that says Ink Education came in and did something that nobody else was able to do, which we did.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we were covered by Forbes, right?
Yeah.
We did something that was not the norm. We did something that nobody else could figure out.
Yeah.
Nobody else could master the relationship building. Nobody else could master the way that we tutor. Nobody else could master how we built the ecosystem around people.
Yeah.
And I want to leave that kind of impact. We've already helped over 11,000 students. I want to help millions of students.
That's incredible.
I want to help them get over the humps, the fears that they had for math and STEM. I want to help them get over the fact that they couldn't write solid essays. You know what I'm saying? Now we got ChatGPT, right? That can help a little bit with that. But, you know, I want to be able to help that kid that couldn't get on the front of the stage and speak. Now he's doing TED Talks.
Yeah.
You know, we want to leave an impact and a legacy of, because we couldn't back then, doesn't mean that we can't today.
That's incredible.
Because we've done now, that means you can go do it now.
Yep.
Our generation was the ones that walked. We want your generation to be the one that runs. And then when your generation that runs as Generation Z or AA or whatever it is now, kids want to see, right? Well, you were the generation that ran.
Yeah.
That's what the next generation is going to be, the one that flies.
Wow. That's incredible.
So that's the kind of impact I want to leave. And that's the kind of thing that I believe that our generations now need, the encouragement from us that says, we're not going to be here forever. So you need to learn all you can from what we built, so you can go out there and teach your kids. You know, I got a 2-year-old daughter, you know what I'm saying? And I want her to be even more successful than I was. I want her to start high school earlier than I did. I want her to go out there and build something, or she was, you know, I went through a lot with that process.
Yeah.
And I know it's not all for naught. God must have put me on earth he must have put her on earth to be something special, because the amount of stuff I went through, you know, in custody and court, for this, it's got to be something at the end of the tunnel for that.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, you know, I want to leave a legacy for my kid, and you know, I want to make sure that my parents are proud of the person that I became, and what I was able to, the way that I was able to impact the world and make it sustainable in the education space that we're in. So that's kind of where I lay when it comes to impact.
Wow, that's incredible. Jay, I've said it many times. Thank you again for being on the show today. These are the stories that I, you know, I want to share with the world. I want to continue to share with the world. You're doing everything God's called you to do, and you're like, my wife and I, we often talk about, like, what does it look like for us to walk in alignment with the path that God put for us. Like, me creating this podcast was something God put on my heart to do. So it's super incredible to hear your story and to hear all the amazing things you're doing. For people who want to support, want to get in contact with you, you know, want to get tutoring for their students. How can people get in touch with you?
Appreciate that. Yeah, man. So anybody out there that's listening, you want to connect, please definitely go to the website, inkeducationllc.com. It's a phenomenal new website that's modern, brand new, fresh out the gate as of last week. On Instagram under The Top Tutor, TheTop Top Tutor, or Inc. Education, or the Jay Veal brand, or Black Tutors on social media. All that stuff is on IG, Facebook under Jay Veal, and that's Jay, then V as a Victor, EAL. Twitter, LinkedIn, heavily. You can find me on there as well. But anything that you guys want to connect with, definitely Google, research, do your due diligence. I can tell you that we're literally the best at what we do. Nobody else has done it, but do your due diligence. We're on media everywhere. J.Veal@inceducationllc.com is the email address as well. But you can find me anywhere at this point. So appreciate that for sure. Follow us. Definitely follow us. Wherever listening, follow. Share. I'm sure you'll put some of these things in little sound bites and things of that nature. But
For sure.
Definitely support this podcast, y'all, and let those things get out to your peers, your family, your friends, colleagues, investors, whatever. We all need the support, whether it be myself, whether it be Leonard here. We're all in the ecosystem together. The more that we support each other and not be crab in a barrel and figure out who can one up everybody else, that's not the kind of stuff we own.
Yeah,
we're all in a mode of support. We
100%.
all have different industries. There's enough money to make for everybody. You ain't got to tear down somebody else. And to leave everybody with this, there's that quote that everybody says, you should never look down on nobody else unless you're picking them up. And you got to make sure that you continue to support everybody in the ecosystem. So I'll leave it with that.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Jay. I'll let you go, but again, this was incredible. I'm super grateful.
Oh, appreciate that. Grateful as well. Maybe we'll have to do a part 2.
We got to do a part 2. I told you I got a lot of questions I still want to ask. So.
I got you. I'm here for it.